All right, so AI, everyone's talking about it, but are we any closer to robots taking over the world, or is it a little more nuanced than that?
Well, the robots aren't quite here to take our jobs just yet, but there are definitely some interesting developments happening in the AI world, and not all of them are as flashy or as obvious as you might think.
Okay, so less Terminator, more like subtle shifts we might miss if we're not paying attention.
Exactly. It's like the background hum of a really complex machine. You might not notice it at first, but it's always there working away.
And I'm guessing that's what we're diving into today, this background hum of AI.
You got it. We're going beyond the attention-grabbing headlines and looking at those under-the-radar AI developments that are already starting to change how we live, work, and interact with technology.
Sounds intriguing. So where do we even begin? What's caught your eye in the world of AI lately?
Well, we could start with Google's update to Gemini. They are making a pretty big deal about price cuts and faster processing speeds, which is all well and good, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, faster, cheaper, that's usually a good thing, right? Especially in the tech world.
Sure, but then they casually mention things like, oh, by the way, Gemini can now summarize a 1,000-page document or understand an hour-long video.
Hold on, seriously. That's more than just a minor upgrade.
A
That's,
potential game changer.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, imagine the possibilities. But is that even realistic? Can AI really do that now?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer, like with most things AI, is complicated. On the one hand, we're definitely seeing huge leaps in natural language processing and computer vision.
Those are the fields that allow AI to understand text and images, right?
Exactly. And they've advanced to the point where AI can now handle much more complex tasks, like summarizing lengthy reports or even identifying key themes in a movie.
Okay, so the technology is there,
Yeah.
but how does that translate into something, useful for everyday people like me?
Well, imagine this. You're a student, right? And you've got a mountain of research papers to read for your thesis. Instead of spending hours poring over every single page, you could feed them all into an AI like Gemini and ask it, okay, what are the main takeaways here? Or what are the most important arguments being made?
And boom, just like that, you've got a head start on your research without pulling an all-nighter. I can see why they're calling it Gemini now. That's like having a research assistant superpower.
Exactly. And it's not just students who could benefit. Think about lawyers reviewing case files, financial analysts sifting through market data, even doctors trying to stay up to date on the latest medical research.
So bigger is better then, at least when it comes to AI and processing information.
It's tempting to think that way, but it's not always that simple.
Oh, I'm sensing a but coming. There's always a but, right?
Oh, well, because we also have to consider the potential downsides, which brings us to our next AI development. Apple's rather quiet decision to delay the rollout of its updated AI features.
Which is interesting because Apple is usually all about those big, perfectly timed product launches. What's going on there?
That's the question a lot of people are asking. And I think it speaks to a fundamental tension at the heart of AI development right now. The tension between pushing boundaries and the potential consequences of moving too fast.
Okay, I can see that.
Mm.
It's like that saying, move fast and break things. But in this case, those things could be, well, everything.
Exactly. And I think Apple, of all companies, is aware of that. They've built their reputation on a seamless, user-friendly experience. They're not going to risk that by rushing out AI features that aren't ready for prime time.
So they're prioritizing a polished product over being first to market.
It seems that way, and it's a risky strategy. In the fast-paced world of AI, falling behind can be costly. But on the other hand, releasing a flawed product can be even worse.
Yeah, nobody wants a repeat of those early voice assistant fails. Remember when Siri thought you were asking for directions to the nearest pizza place, but instead it ordered you a large pepperoni with extra cheese? Not ideal.
Exactly, and with AI becoming more integrated into our lives, the stakes are even higher.
That makes sense. So it's a balancing act then, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI, but also making sure it's safe, reliable, and actually enhances our lives, not complicates them.
Absolutely, and that brings us to another interesting development. You ready for this? James Cameron, the man behind Avatar, Titanic, Terminator.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah.
What does James Cameron have to do with AI?
Well, he's just joined the board of Stability AI, the company behind Stable Diffusion.
Okay, I have to admit, you've lost me a little bit.
Right, let me back up. Stable Diffusion is this really powerful AI image generation tool. Basically, you can type in a text description, like, let's say, a cat wearing a top hat riding a unicycle on the moon, And Stable Diffusion will generate a surprisingly realistic image based on that description.
No way, like from scratch.
From scratch, it's pretty mind-blowing and a little bit terrifying all at the same time.
Okay, that's pretty wild, but I still don't see the James Cameron connection.
Well, here's the thing. Stability AI is all about open source AI, which means they believe in making their technology widely accessible.
As opposed to keeping it the secret and using it to, take over the world.
Exactly. They want to democratize AI, put it in the hands of artists, creators, and developers everywhere. And that's where James Cameron comes in. He's a visionary filmmaker, always pushing the boundaries of what's possible with visual effects.
So you're saying he's going to be working with Stability AI to make AI image generation even more, I don't know, mind-blowing.
It's certainly a possibility, and it raises some fascinating questions about the future of art and creativity in the age of AI. But that's a conversation for another time, perhaps.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yep.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's bring things back down to earth a bit, shall we? We've talked about Google, Apple, James Cameron, but what about something a little closer to home? Something we can all relate to.
Sounds good to me. What did you have in mind?
How about language learning? Specifically, the ever-popular Duolingo. Now, I know what you're thinking. Duolingo and AI, what's so groundbreaking about that? But trust me, there's more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. What's Duolingo up to in the world of AI? Well, Duolingo has been quietly integrating some pretty sophisticated AI into its platform lately, and it's actually having a real impact on how people learn languages.
Okay, I'll bite. How so?
Yeah.
I mean, I've used Duolingo, and it's always felt pretty basic to me. Vocabulary drills, those cute little owl animations.
Right, but here's the thing. What if those cute little owl animations weren't just there for decoration? What if they were backed by an AI engine that was actually learning your patterns, understanding your strengths and weaknesses as you progress?
Okay, that's kind of cool. So it's like having a personalized tutor in your pocket.
Exactly. Think about it. Traditional language learning, you're either stuck in a classroom with a bunch of other students at varying levels, or you're shelling out big bucks for a one-on-one tutor.
Not to mention those awkward language exchange partners you find online who just end up wanting to talk about the weather.
Exactly. But with AI-powered language learning apps like Duolingo, you're getting that personalized attention, that customized feedback, without the pressure of a real-time conversation or the expense of a human tutor.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. But how exactly is AI making that happen? I mean, are we talking about those chatbots that try to have a conversation with you but end up sounding like, well, robots?
It's more sophisticated than that. AI is being used to analyze massive data sets of language, to understand the nuances of grammar and pronunciation, and to tailor the learning experience to your specific needs.
So instead of just memorizing a bunch of vocabulary words, it's more about learning in context, in a way that actually sticks with you.
Precisely. Think about it like this. Remember those choose-your-own-adventure books you used to read as a kid?
Oh, yeah, where every decision you made led to a different outcome. Those are the best.
Exactly. Well, Duolingo is using AI to create these immersive, interactive stories that you have to actually use the language to navigate.
Wait, really? So I'm not just mashing words on flashcards anymore. I'm like actually using the language in a, I don't know, a semi-realistic scenario.
Right. You're having to think on your feet, make decisions, and most importantly, use the language actively, just like you would in a real-life situation.
Okay, now that's pretty cool. And I can see how that would be way more engaging than just staring at flashcards or listening to a recording.
It's all about making language learning more fun, more immersive, and ultimately more effective.
And Duolingo's not the only one, right? I'm guessing a lot of language learning apps are jumping on this AI bandwagon.
Absolutely. It's becoming the norm rather than the exception. And it's not just language learning either. We're seeing AI being used to personalize all sorts of learning experiences, from math tutoring to coding boot camps.
So it's like having a personalized AI tutor for pretty much anything you want to learn. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. But it also makes you wonder,
What's that?
if AI can personalize education so effectively, does that mean we'll even need human teachers anymore?
The age-old question. Will robots replace us? In this case, I think it's more nuanced than that.
Right, nuanced. Because on the one hand, you've got this incredible technology that can tailor lessons to your exact needs and learning style. But on the other hand, there's that human element, that connection you get with a real teacher that's hard to replicate.
And let's be honest, sometimes you just need a real person to tell you to stop procrastinating and get back to work. And AI might not have that same motivational impact.
True, true. Although I wouldn't put it past AI to develop some seriously persuasive techniques in the future. But I think that brings us to a bigger point, doesn't it? We've talked about a lot of different AI developments today, some more subtle than others.
From Google's massive data crunching Gemini to Apple's cautious approach with its AI rollout, to James Cameron dipping his toes into the world of open source image generation.
It's a lot to wrap our heads around, even for those of us who follow this stuff closely. So for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now, what's the key takeaway here?
I think the most important thing to remember is that AI isn't some distant future scenario anymore. It's not just science fiction.
It's happening right now, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. It's in the tools we use, the apps on our phones, the way we work, learn, and even create art.
And like we've been discussing, it's not always about those big, splashy headlines about robots taking over the world. Sometimes it's the quieter, more subtle developments that have the biggest impact on our lives.
Precisely. So, as we wrap up our deep dive today, I think the question we should all be asking ourselves is this: how do we want to shape this future with AI? How do we ensure that these powerful technologies are used for good, that they benefit all of humanity?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And one that we'll continue to explore right here on the Deep Dive. So, until next time, keep asking those tough questions, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next episode.